What do you believe is the best structure for a modern day smaller agency? Is the 360 model still valid, or should I be employing more resources or perhaps even a marketing person? So you did sort of mention your team there is very different to what a team would look like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think it's working out what skills you've got in your current agency and really, really being quite honest about that. Because I've seen it work really badly in the past where people bring in a resourcer, but then there's not enough work because the consultant that they're resourcing for is actually not that good on BD. They could generate enough work to keep themselves busy, but the minute they get a resourcer, there's another cost to the business. And so they're required to do more BD, but they weren't prepared for it. They just wanted a resourcer because it made their life easier. But they're actually, their core skill wasn't business development, and that's not what they enjoyed. So I think getting really, really honest with what skills you've got in the business and what people actually enjoy and are good at, and then going, well, how do we structure this agency? Because I think there's many ways to skin a cat. We could have 360 consultants in here, but I just don't think that would work for my business because I don't need a BD person. We turn away so much work that it's actually useless me having someone hammering down the phones and doing BD because I don't need it. I need people that can deliver on the roles that we've got, because then it'll make more work.
Amazing. Look at the amazing position you've got yourself into. I think that is a very enviable position to be in, to actually be turning away work. My goodness. And in fact, I get consultants say to me sometimes, oh, Belinda, if I had a resource, I'd make more money. I'm like, well, yeah, but let's get you making more money and filling that cup as full as we can get it. And then we'll have that conversation. You're not going to get somebody in, like you said, as to do your work for you. I'm going to be paying almost double to get
the same. Everyone wants an extra resource, but I had this conversation with one of my last, where I was working before. We had a really, really strong biller, consistent biller. So I make so much money, can you guys get me a resource? And I was like, okay, this will cost the business 65K minimum if we get a very junior resource, and it's upwards of 100 for a very good one. So that money needs to be made back. Are you committing to actually increasing your billings? And he didn't really think about it. He just thought, well, I make 800,000 with the business. You can throw 100 grand into it. So that's how it works.
No.
We've got overheads to pay.
Let's have a look at the numbers here.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you need to commit to actually making more money so this resource can be kept on. It's not just it's a nice to have and throw an extra person, so your life's a little bit easier and you don't have to do admin. It's to elevate your billings, not just to someone to do your admin.
No, that's right. And you mentioned a marketing person as well. Do you have a full-time marketing person or no?
No, so I'm marketing coordinator for 2 days a week. Right,
okay, perfect. Yeah. And what sort of things have you got? I mean, obvious marketing's pretty obvious, but just to break it down a little bit, what sort of things are they doing for you?
So my marketing person doesn't actually do ideas or content. It's all I'd say marketing administration would probably be more accurate description of what my marketing coordinator does. So it's all of me recording a podcast episode, me flicking at the Dropbox link and saying cut the start and end off, add the intros, and then post it to Buzzsprout. So it's all the administration that goes along with the marketing. I think it's quite hard for a part-time marketing person to come up with ideas for a business because they're not in it every day, and also they're not client facing, so they have very limited knowledge of what's important to clients. And I think that's where certain marketing departments really, really are so disjointed in the marketing that goes out for businesses. It's not really that relevant because that marketing person really isn't client facing, and there's a disconnect between the consultants talking to the clients and candidates and the marketing team. And so if there's not that complete unison between the two, the marketing team can only put out what they think is going to be relevant. And we've all seen stuff that goes out on company pages. It's usually just a bit, it's okay.
Left of centre,
But it very rarely hits the mark with people. And I think that's usually, I've thought about this a few weeks ago because we have generic stuff going on the Spencer Lane site, which I have nothing to do with. And it gets 2 or 3 likes max, but it's because it's so generic in nature and I don't take charge of what the content is on that site. I just have charge of what's on my LinkedIn. And they're vastly different.
Yeah, you're linked. Anyone who's not following Ez on LinkedIn, do so. He puts some amazing content out, and you have this real knack of engaging your audience and almost getting out of them what they want you to write about as well, which is really lovely. So you've got your marketing person, you mentioned VAs. Are they doing admin, those sorts of things for you, or what have you got your VAs doing?
VAs do my automation. So I do quite a lot of automation on building out my database. Recruitment, Rec to Rec is one of the worst for turnover, so my database needs to be refreshed. Literally, I did a database cleanse a few months ago when 40% of the contacts were no longer live. So that constant generation of our database is a full-time job. The automation on LinkedIn and connecting, we connect with about 1,000 people a month and a half. But that export from LinkedIn to code it up and correctly put it into the database, that takes time. I'm not going to sit there and go, Belinda Kerr, she recruits in accounting, she's an owner, so that's what she's going to go on. Because that to me is super important, because when things are going out from our database on e-shops, for example, everything is personalized to the area that that person recruits in and what level they're at. So if they're a consultant, they'd get an ever so slightly different e-shop from us, but it's always relevant to them, and the owners would get a different message from us as well. So making sure, so he sort of makes sure that everything in the database is coded correctly and it's ongoingly cleansed.
So do you take people straight from LinkedIn once they connect with you and put them on your database?
Yep.
Yeah, and you haven't had any issues with people coming back and saying, why am I on your database?
No, absolutely. No. Well, no, actually, no, tell a lie. I probably have about 4 or 5 people ask me where I've got their details from. And it's a simple response. You've connected with me on LinkedIn. That's available information on LinkedIn once we're connected. If you want us to remove you, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're trying to add value to you. And that usually does the trick with, oh, no, sorry, don't worry about it. Yeah. So that's never really been an issue.
Usually with that, they're okay.
Yeah, I think so. Once they understand where you've got their information from and you've not just bullshit from some dodgy site, you explain where the information is showing, because they might not know that their email address is showing once you connect and their phone number's showing. But that's all available information to me, and I'm free to add it to the database.